Today, I want to talk about raising our standards for ourselves and shame. From what I'm learning about myself and the work that I do with all my glorious clients, these two things can't coexist together. So if you demand more from life, then you must demand more from yourself, which then means, in that demanding more from yourself, you must be willing to navigate your shame differently. Allow me to unpack and unfold this with you. Hey, my name is Star Monroe from the Star Monroe Show, all things main character energy, so you can strut through the world unapologetically confident, unbothered about what anyone else thinks or says to you, and of course, wildly exclusive, a woman with high standards and who knows her worth, because a woman who knows her worth will always get what she wants. So I'm going to start this with a story and then unfold into the shame and into the standards, which will be weaved into the story anyway. So currently, I am in Kalkan, which is a town about 60 minutes from where I live in Turkey. And I traveled here on car, booked a house through Airbnb on top of the mountains. One of the things that I want to experience more of is new experiences, staying in houses with great views, looking at the mountains, looking at the sea. So I chose this house on purpose. As always, with the properties in Turkey, they never quite give you the right address. So when I managed to get the exact location, I got to the top of said mountain and I looked around. I was like, I can't see anything. And so I took a moment, looked out at the view, admired the sea, admired the mountains. And then I looked behind me and I looked up and up and up. And I was like, oh, there's the house. And then I saw the road, and the road was nearly vertical. I took a breath. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And the guy who was meeting me was waving at me and he was like, yes, yes, you're in the right place. So I got in my car and I did a 3 point turn already on a mountainous road. And I started up this hill. I did the first part very well. Then I turned the car and went up this near vertical road to get to the house I was staying in. And a quarter of the way up, the car started to skid and I couldn't quite get any traction on the road. Panicked and I slammed my foot on the brake, put the car into park, put the handbrake on, and just stopped. And I allowed myself to feel my feelings, and I could feel my heart was racing. I could feel I felt super overwhelmed because tears were pricking my eyes. And I've known for a very long time that when I'm overwhelmed, tears come. This started off in childhood. Didn't quite understand it in childhood. And now, as an adult, willing to see myself deeper and hear myself deeper, I understand that, yes, I've overloaded my bandwidth. And as I was sitting there contemplating what the hell am I going to do next? How am I going to get up here? The little man ran down and he looked at me and this is what happened. I was like, how the hell am I going to get up here? This road is so steep. Oh my God. And as these words were falling out of my mouth, I was like, oh, you're gone. You're triggered. You do not feel safe. because I could feel it. I was very defensive. I was projecting it out onto the little man who was like, "Oh, this is no problem. You can do this." And as I heard the tone and the energy of the words that were coming out of my mouth, I paused and I recognized it. I need to add something in here about shame. Now, this has taken me a long time to get to this place where I recognize how I'm feeling. B, I witness it with neutrality because I walked around the world encased in shame, thinking that believing I was not good enough, believing my defensiveness was wrong, believing that who I was a mistake. That's a good way to look at it, actually. Yeah, I walked around thinking I was a mistake. And so that's my shame. Now, shame, if I shamed myself in that moment, I would have carried on being defensive. I would have got really argumentative with this guy who wanted to help me. And then I would have self-berated myself later and pulled myself down into a spiral of despair. And my inner critic would be the loudest voice and I would be beating myself up. And years ago, I would have resorted then to drinking or some other mindless form of activity to numb myself away from the pain of feeling unworthy. So let me come back into the experience in that present moment. So I noticed I was becoming defensive. Defensiveness is a form of protection. Please write that down. Please highlight that. And please slot that piece of wisdom into your psyche. Defensiveness is a form of protection. And so, as I uttered the words to him, how am I getting up this hill? And I was getting quite, and I was about to become argumentative. And he said, "It's okay, I can do it for you." And I paused again. Between stimulus and response is a space we want to reside there. That's by Viktor Frankl. And it's how I live my life, a mantra I live by. And I looked at him and I said, "No." And I purposefully calmed myself down. I went, "No, I need to do this because I need to be able to come and go from this house. I want to explore the area. I want to explore the local towns." And he said, "Are you okay?" And here was the doorway into me doing things differently, me demanding more of myself, me no longer letting shame lead the way. And I said, "No, I'm not okay." Honoring my feelings, noticing how I was started to relate to him. I said, "I feel really scared." I want to cry as I'm talking to you because that honesty with myself, that recognizing of my feelings, that recognizing of my old patterns coming in to protect me, and me not going down that route of old patterns and me coming back to the truth of what was happening for me in the moment, that is a woman of worth. This is the woman I am becoming. This is a woman who is true to herself, who is dedicated to up leveling her very existence by all the things that she does. I said in last week's episode, nothing is inconsequential. It's not how you do the big things, it's how you do the small things that you repeat over and over again. So as I told him I'm scared, he was like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And I love that. He gave the power back to me. I said, "I need to take a moment and just calm myself down." And he said, "This is what you're going to need to do. You're going to have to reverse down the near vertical sheer drop of a road." I was like, "Oh my God, really?" I was like, "Really?" And then he said, "Then you do it again." And he told me how to do it. So I was like, "Fine." So he reversed me. He helped me reverse back down, got to the bottom, and then he told me what to do. I took a breath. Actually, I want to insert something else here as well because it's really important. I could have shamed myself over and over again in this experience because it was embarrassing, and yet I told another story about embarrassment when I was in Antalya. Gosh, this living life to the fullest, going and experiencing new experiences, doing things that are out your comfort zone. You are going to mess up. You are going to make boo boos. It's how you handle those boo boos. And so I sort of could see this was an embarrassing situation, and yet I wasn't going to label it. I was just like, okay, I've got out of my comfort zone. I'm scared. I need to take good care of myself. So again, not resorting to shaming, not resorting to berating myself. So I got to the bottom of the hill. He's like, do this. And so deep breath in, put the gear into low, it was an automatic, put it into low, revved it at 2000 RPM. I think that's what he said. And I went up, got to the top of the hill, and I parked the car. I parked the car. Yes, I got out of the car. I did a big fist bump into the air, and I was like, I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it. I was so happy. I was so happy. Like my inner child was like, oh my God, look at us. Yes, we did it. We did it. And I'm having a moment here reliving that again. Oh, and I want to thank you for holding the space for this story because me reliving this really pulls it into my psyche, really pulls it into uh, the rewiring of me, my eternal belief system, which sits into my subconscious, that I can navigate tricky situations in different ways without resorting to being defensive. And this is a reminder for you that you can rewire yourself. You can rewire yourself over and over and over again, and it is of the utmost importance that you start to recognize and validate and see yourself. It is no one else's job to validate and see yourself or recognize. That's your job. That's your job. This is where a lot of human beings go wrong in the world. They keep seeking external validation, external recognition, external acceptance. No, your job is to do all of that. Then, if you get it from the outside, it's a bonus. And yet, you already know this is home. It's safe to be you. So, coming back to the story, standing on the top of the mountain, I was like, yes, gave the man a little hug. I don't think he was appreciated that, but I gave him a little hug anyway. And I took a moment, my fist bump into the air, and I was like, yes, you did it. So I'm recognizing, I'm anchoring in this new moment into my psychology, into the cells of my body. I can do things differently. I see my old reactions, I see my old patternings, and yes, I am choosing different ways over and over again. This, in my world, is what it means to have high standards. How can you have high standards in bigger things if you do not have high standards with how you communicate and respond with yourself? You can't. You can't. And so I know that as I demand more from life, I must demand more from myself. I must be willing to see myself deeper and hear myself deeper and insert that space from that beautiful quote between stimulus and response is a space. And in that space, you get to choose how you want to respond rather than reacting to life over and over again. And no shade here because I did move through my world for the majority of my life reacting to things, reacting to circumstances, reacting to people. And I still find myself doing it, yet I'm able to catch myself quicker and quicker and quicker. And this is what the journey to live aligned with your genius, your higher self, your full potential looks like. Because when you can manage yourself at a higher level, you can manage life and whatever it throws your way at a higher level. Remember, you don't get what you want when you want it. That's your child grasping and grabbing inside you. You get things when you're ready for them. And I take that on board seriously. And I know I need to make myself ready. I need to get ready for more of life's challenges and obstacles. And I want to meet them with grace and aplomb and not keep resorting back to my old shame spirals of I'm not enough, I always fail, I'm so defensive, there's something wrong with me, I'm a mistake, this is so hard. Can you see the shame spiral? So you've got to recognize if you want more from life, you've got to want more from yourself. You've got to recognize, you've got to be willing to see yourself deeper. I know I said this before, and hear yourself deeper. And this is why high level, ambitious 50 plus women hire me as their private therapist and coach because I can see things they can't see. And then I guide and teach them to do things differently so they can level up, upgrade, rewire who they are from the inside out. And you know, if you've been listening to me, if you want your outer reality to change, you must change your inner world. Your inner world consists of your self identity, your mindset, your emotional landscape, which all together equate your energetic frequency. You must up level your values, your worth. You do that by how you show up for yourself. And then for me in my world, as you shift your outer world, your inner world, you're creating a lifestyle that's sustainable, that supports that. Let me go back to the story and complete this. As I got out the car, I've given the guy a random hug. And then he's like, "What luggage do you have?" And I never travel light. I travel, I mean, literally, I travel with everything: my duvet, my coffee machine. I have 2 suitcases. I have bags full of books. This is why I like traveling in my car. And so then he carried the suitcase up, and then I'm following him. And then I realized, oh my God, there's 100 steps up to this property. 100 steps up to this property. So as we both got to the top, we're out of breath. Well, he was more out of breath than me because he was carrying my heavy suitcase. He then said to me, the views, the views. And I turned around and blown away by the views, blown away with the fact that I'm in a house which previously in my life was only just a dream. Only just a dream. I dreamt of staying in properties with the whole front is glass and you see out, and I see the sea and I see the Mediterranean, I see the mountains. I'm looking at Kalkan. There's a beautiful pool out in front of me. And I know this to be true. You have a dream, you have a vision, and you hold that vision, and then you reflect that vision back to you, and you ask yourself, who do I need to become to make this happen? And you focus on who you're becoming. You're going to walk into that dream or something better, something better. And you need to let go of expectations, be open. More than that, you need to be willing to look at yourself deeper, hear yourself deeper, and get to know yourself deeper so you can rewire yourself from the inside out so you become a match for your dreams and desires, and learn how to handle shame so it doesn't handle you and keep you spiraling down the same pathways and habits that you have always done. What got you here will not get you there. If indeed you are an ambitious, highly successful 50 plus woman who is looking to strut through life differently, looking to deepen the relationship with herself because she knows she is the catalyst for everything that is going on around her, then check out the show notes. You can hire me as your private therapist and coach. I'm looking forward to opening the doors into your transformation and your elevation. And until next time, stay fucking fabulous.